So that was pretty crazy. And I was like, everybody was telling me like, you need to like really pace it. Don't release too many illustrations. And I did like five in one day, and they all sold in one day. So in the first day, I made like a huge amount of money. I think maybe the same amount of money I made the year before, all in Ethereum. So
Wow.
then I took like a little break. I was like thinking to myself, like what I'm going to like, what's the plan with this? Because I need to have like some sort of game plan.
The Side Hustler's Perspective podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, we break down the art of healthy hustling, getting out of your own way, and growing your creative business. What's up, fam? We got Bert of Musketon back on the show today for round two. Bert, it's been too long, brother. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. A lot of stuff happened in the past 2 years, especially last few months. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about it with you.
Yeah, we're going to nerd out today. But for those who don't know, last time you were on the show was June 12th of 2019, episode 130. Like 2 years have just flown by. So if you could do two quick things for me. One, just give a brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself for those who may not know about you, because so much has changed. And then two, can you do your best to catch us up from what's all happened in the last 2 years, especially in 2021?
So yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm Bert. I'm from Belgium. I'm basically in 2019. I used to call myself an illustrator, but now I call myself an artist for a bunch of different reasons. So, but my main focus is still making illustrations. So that's what I enjoy doing. And it's basically all in Adobe Illustrator. So I have a really specific style. It's really detailed. It's extremely detailed. So yeah, that's basically what I do. And the thing what happened since 2019 is yeah, COVID, obviously, which also gave me was also a really good period for me. Not personally, but work-wise, because it gave me so much inspiration. Because it felt like we were like living in a simulation or something like that. And then at some point we had Trump saying all the crazy stuff on a daily basis, and yet like all this crazy COVID stuff happening. So for me, it was like a really, really fun period to actually create work. And I think the biggest illustration I did last year was the recreation of the Last Supper. It took me like 3 months, and that one illustration really put me like on the map. I feel like personally. And then yeah, fast forward to 2021, and then the whole NFT stuff happened, and yeah, that's been a crazy ride so far. And I'm still learning, and I try to keep up with all the developments. But yeah, the NFT craze was actually, it changed my life. So yeah, I'm really thankful that it all happened.
Man, now I'll do some flexing on you today. And if someone's watching the video, I'm just like scrolling through his work, and you can see just how hyper detailed. And he has this thing where like you zoom in on like 3000% on Adobe Illustrator, and he tucks in the most finite details of the craziest thing, like on a cereal box, putting like a barcode on something or someone's face on something else. Like it's truly insane, the level of detail that you put into it. And yeah, I say you're an illustrator, but at the end of the day, what you do is art. Like you put witty, clever, hella illustrated detail into, I would say, political topics that can
Mm-hmm.
trigger people, but you do it in
Yeah.
such a way that is like, wow, captivating, like a Facebook factory, respect your privacy, or like Amazon conglomerate, taking
Mm-hmm.
over outer space. Yeah, speak to like how you try to hit on these more political based topics. What's your angle? What's your goal with that?
So the most important thing for people to understand is I'm from Europe, and like I started creating illustrations, just like fun random objects, and then I started going more into like actually telling like a message in my illustrations. And then it was super easy for me to really focus in on like people like Trump. And once again, I'm from Europe, and for us people from Europe, it's like it's like a television show. I mean, if you know what I mean. And but you guys are actually in the middle of it, and it's not actually that funny unless you're like a Trump supporter. Which I mean, you can notice that I have already difficulties to explain it because it's such a delicate subject. So
And I don't
I
do
made it.
politics here, but I like how you do politics.
So I always try to, I don't want to offend anybody, but I made like a few Trump related illustrations with really, and those really were like home runs for me because they scored really good. But then you also really upset people with those illustrations. So I started thinking to myself, like, is this really something I want to do? And then I tried to evolve into more like illustrations that were open to anybody. And I mean, the thing I learned with that strategy is you can't please and like everybody. There's at least one person that's always going to be offended. So, but for now, I stopped doing those political inspired illustrations, and I think it's way more fun to focus on stuff like Facebook and social media because I'm also an addict, and I think it's really fun to focus and zoom in on those subjects that might become like problematic because everybody is like social media addict, and it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of sad because everybody is hooked on that little screen every single day. So yeah, I think it's really fun to confront people with those subjects and myself also. Um, and yeah, those illustrations just work because people recognize what I try to tell in the message, but I don't try to overcomplicate things. It also just needs to be fun, and I think that's the most important
I
part.
was gonna say at the end of the day, I feel like why you're successful is, dude, you're just literally playing. You have fun in your work. You don't take yourself too seriously, and you're making fun of the culture that we're in, of this hyper tech Tesla culture of social media obsessed and addicts. But I think that's what works for you. At the end of the day, you're having fun. And I think a lot of people are missing that. They're forcing their work to be something. They're forcing it to like monetize what they're doing overnight when they're not ready. They haven't been in the game. They haven't paid their dues. They're not having fun, and they're forcing their side hustle to become another burdensome day job. But this year alone, the NFT space is what I really wanted to nerd out about today, because I don't have like anything specifically on this. And I kind of dismissed it at the beginning of the year, NFTs, non-fungible tokens for people, because I was so obsessed with other crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, but also doing my podcast. I also have coaching, and I didn't get to be the artist that I've been. What got me here, art hasn't been that thing for me these days, but I still pay attention to what other people are doing. But I dismissed it. And then I really saw you killing it in the Twitter world. You know, can you tell us a little bit about what NFTs are, your experience with them, and how you got into it and how it's exploded for you? Because it's truly been a trip just witnessing it on the side.
So I first heard about NFTs, like I think 90% of other people through Beeple. I've been a fan for years, and I saw he was doing like this NFT auction, and I really didn't know anything about it. I was like super confused, and then I saw, because he was sharing the stories from the auctions, and I was like, did this guy just made like $3 million in like a weekend just from NFTs?
Like Christie or whatever. And
no,
I'm
that
sharing.
was in the
Sorry,
in the beginning. He did the first one was through Nifty Gateway, I think. And then I started like researching this, like what is this NFT culture and all, because I mean it's been around since I think 2016, but like this in 2020 and 2021 it actually exploded. Then I actually stopped looking at it because I also had like some personal issues at the end of last year with like a burnout and stuff like that. So I didn't want to jump in knowing that my energy levels were going to be drained through NFTs. So I submitted my application with Super Rare, like the marketplace, and I think a few weeks later I got accepted. And I didn't actually do anything with the fact that I got accepted because I wanted myself to be at my energy levels again. So I focused on myself for a while, and then I started on Super Rare, and I basically just uploaded like a few illustrations. I didn't make new stuff. So
Was this
I
in
just
2020?
uploaded. This was 2021.
Okay. Were like gas fees and everything super high on Ethereum
Yeah.
then, congested network? Okay.
So I didn't know that much about it. So I just uploaded my illustration. I was like, I'll just give it a try. And like 15 minutes later, there was like an offer of 6 Ethereum, which for me didn't make any sense. I mean, I didn't even have Ethereum. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's, if you translate this to actual dollars or euros, yeah, that was like, I don't know, at the time, I'm just going to say something, $20,000, which is a lot of money. So I just accepted the offer, and I didn't really know about the fact that you can just wait it out and like wait for other people to do like a better offer. But for me, honestly,
It's like
6
auction
Ethereum,
wise.
yeah, but 6 Ethereum, if you think about it, it's a crazy amount of money.
And
to
you didn't
make in
own
like
any
15.
Ethereum or anything, because
No.
like 2020, this time Ethereum had crashed like $300, and then it's like 3,000 to 4,000 this year.
So that was pretty crazy. And I was like, everybody was telling me like, you need to like really pace it. Don't release too many illustrations. And I did like 5 in one day, and they all sold in one day. So in the first day, I made like a huge amount of money. I think maybe the same amount of money I made the year before, all in Ethereum.
Wow.
So then I took like a little break. I was like thinking to myself, like what I'm going to, like, what's the plan with this? Because I need to have like some sort of game plan. And then I figured out like the strategy, and yeah, it kind of worked for me. I always uploaded my illustrations with a pretty low starting price, like 1.5 Ethereum, which is still a lot of money for
So
a
that's
lot of people.
still a high floor for a lot of people getting the game. But
Yeah.
I should lay out, you've been in this game for a long time, illustrating. Like Beeple is super well known and super successful because he's done yearly drawings for 14 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of people saw the news stories about Beeple, and I think I'm really happy for him. But what a lot of people don't see is like this dude like did like daily illustrations or like renders, but still that's like
Renders,
at least 45 minutes a day, every single day for like I think 12 years. And I mean, if you think about that, and if you're a creative, and if you think about the fact that he did it every single day, and I mean, the guy has kids, he has like a family. For me, I don't even have kids. I don't even have like a lot of responsibilities. And for me, it's still impossible to do something like that. So I have so much respect.
Props to you, even saying that you dealt with burnout and you wanted to do self-care at the end of 2020, like mad respect, because a lot of people don't understand it. And even how could Bert on this level deal with that as well, which I feel like could be another topic for another day. But yeah, dude has family, 14 years of daily renders. It's insane.
So that's insane if you think about it. And I'm really happy for him. I mean, the auction he did was like 17 million.
Is that the Christie one that I was thinking of?
Yeah,
a different one.
Christie's. Yeah. And so I think in total he did like 100 million, which is an insane amount of money. But people also don't see the fact that he was doing this for like at least 12 years for free, because he just uploaded it to Instagram
for years. So, there's probably a decade nobody even knew who this dude was.
Exactly.
He did it just to do it.
If you think about it, that's still a good pay for like 10 years of work. But still, I mean, he deserves all the attention he gets. And yeah, I think he's one of the people that made NFTs like really pop in 2020, 2021. And that's the danger for young creators, because a lot of people don't understand that if you want to sell something on the Ethereum blockchain, you also need to pay for the gas fees. And I mean, if you upload on a bad day, it can easily cost you like $300. And if you don't sell, yeah, then you just lost $300 to upload something to the blockchain. And yeah, if you upload again and again, I mean, you could easily invest like $1,000 and never get that money back. So that's
and then you have these profile pic projects that are like, hey, 10K trying to replicate Bored Apes and CryptoPunks. I'm like, oh my gosh, the gas fees on something like that. And I think what I want to do today is like, we're in the euphoria stage in a sense and talking about how great this is. I'm looking at on your Maker's Place on Rare Art Marketplace. Since joining NFT space early this year, Musketon has generated over 277 ETH, which is like almost $900,000, including ETH gas station, which sold for 24 ETH for 76K, and PayPal Wild West, which sold for 65. Like, and then another electric cars for 63,000. Like, that is nuts.
I mean,
because you're not going to flex on that. I'll do it for you, but
I'm not
you
gonna flex
also
about
deserve
it.
it. You deserve it because you've
is,
been putting all this time. Like, but it's not just going to happen like that for people. You've built a name, you've built a reputation. You've been consistent. People know who you are. They understand the value you provide. You do Adobe Lives, Behance Lives. Like you've built a you've earned it. You know, you've paid to play in order to get where you're at.
And I don't usually flex about this, but I mean, it's public, so everybody can see the numbers. But it was I think it went from 0 to 1 million, or like close to 1 million in about 3 months, which is absolutely insane. And I still don't understand that. I mean, that's just a huge amount of money. But I mean, I'm not complaining, but once again, like you said, we've been following each other for years now. And I think the thing with NFTs, it's not a big difference with the classic art scene, because you usually back in the days you went to a gallery and the gallery represented you, and they saw something in you. And I mean, but now it's basically the exact same thing, but the middleman is just cut out of the story. You connect with the collector yourself, and they pay you directly to the wallet that you're using. But once again, in the classic art game, people usually invest in an artist that they believe in, and they follow the story, and they see where the person is coming from, and that just takes years and years of investments. And I think it's the same with NFTs. But once again, you also have like newcomers that they're super lucky and they just make it overnight, but that's just
very slim unicorn. Like the right person, maybe see you tweeted at a specific time where Gary V or something just happened to be online. But like how I like to explain it to people, because it took me a while to understand. I dismissed. I'm like, what, JPEG selling for this much? But then I had to realize, like, hey, when you invest in an NFT, or especially just like an artist, someone investing in you, it's literally like you're investing in a stock in a company. But when you purchase, like, say, Bert's art, you're investing in Bert as a company. You're investing in him, his story, his work, his storyline, his past. You're betting in his future that NFTs can grow. People flip them. Like, dude, the people are becoming millionaires every day, just like buying and flipping NFTs. But that's how I'd say it is. Like, think of it as you're through the artist lens, or even a musician. Like, you bought Tory Lane's latest NFT and it sells out. Like, you're buying stock in an artist. And
yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And the better you continue to do, the more your worth is going to grow, you know, which is then someone owns a piece of your stock, whether it's an art piece, that value is going to go up. They can hold on to it. But like, why digital? This is the other thing that I couldn't get over get past, especially being like the old traditional world. It took me a while to even get into fucking drawing it on an iPad, because I'm so like romanticizing about the traditional way of drawing analog. And it took me a while to understand digital. And now I'm like digital collecting. But then I'm seeing like my nephew collecting swords and whatchamacallit, oh my God, what is it? Fortnite. And I'm like, I don't get it. Yeah. But now I get it. Like, can you explain why people collect digitally versus like, I need the tangible good, which is like what the boomer community, or like my dad would be like, I want to hold this baseball card. I'm like, have you heard of NBA Top Shots? Like, Dad? Yeah. So what brought you into that of like, okay, digital collecting? And why on the blockchain? Why is that significant?
The fact that it's on the blockchain is that like you have this proof of authenticity and ownership, and you can't duplicate it because it's a unique token. So if you buy something from me, you can always prove like this is a token I own in my wallet, and you can hang on to it. You can sell it for profit or loss. That's up to you. And I think that's the most important part about being on the blockchain.
Can't be replicated, can't be hacked.
Yeah, so that's
you
about
could
it.
track
And then
every transaction. I can be like, hey, this piece from Bert got purchased earlier this year. Like, let's go look at the public ledger and be like, okay, it's sold here to this address. Well, then they sold it from this address. Look at the value of how it's grown this whole time. You can literally track every step along the way.
Exactly. That's
of
the
everything.
Nice
like that's
it.
insane.
And just everything is public on the blockchain, and that's also something that you need to keep in mind, because a lot of artists also forget about the fact that they need to pay taxes on the income they make. And I mean, if you don't pay your taxes, I would be super careful, because everything is public. And yeah, so
saying crypto is for fraud. I'm like, I'm about to say cash is used mostly in all fraudulent cases. Like what 2% is crypto based, and the majority is cash. So don't fall victim to that myth of crypto or anything. Mm-hmm. So like you have a hefty tax to pay this year.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I'm happy to do so, and because if I do this, I want to do it right. I want to play it by the rules. And a lot of people in crypto say I'm crazy because they have like all these loopholes. But I don't want to be. I
like peace of mind, sleeping well at night.
Exactly, and on paper, I'm still an artist. I'm definitely no crypto expert. So, and that's also something that's really important to me. I don't want to become like a crypto guy, because the only thing I can do is make illustrations. So I don't want to I don't want to let the NFT adventure impact my way of thinking. I just want to make illustrations. But I forgot the question I was answering. It was a different question.
Why collect digital?
Because I asked myself the same thing. And because I also have a web shop and I sell physical prints on paper and stuff like that. And when I started selling my first NFTs, I always connected with the collector. I was like, hey, do you want to print? Because you pay this huge amount of money.
Like an unlocked thing, purchase this and you unlock the print or a token, a coin.
I think 75% of collectors is like, yeah, sure, just send me something. That's really nice of you, but just know that it's not necessary, because that's not the NFTs is like, it's all about digital. So, but they really appreciate the gesture. And like 25% of those people either don't want to share their address because of the ridiculous amount of money they have, I guess. And they're like actual whales. So they're like, I just don't want to share that information, which I completely understand. And then like a few of those people are like, yeah, they don't really care about physical stuff, so they just want the NFT. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, how old are you? I'm 32.
I'm just turned 33. We're like around the same age, man.
So I think we maybe grew up and like in the same.
We're blessed. Like we got like the early world where it's just like cable TV and dial-up phone with your finger in a circle. But then we got the early stages of dial-up internet. We got the early stages of social media. We got the early stages of crypto. We got the early stages of NFT. Like, dude, we've seen all of it. We are so fucking lucky to be millennials, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's also exhausting. Definitely the NFT community. I try to keep up with everything, but it's just impossible. The evolution is so fast, and then you have like those profile pic projects, which it's just too much. And I think that market is definitely going to collapse. One of
it's a bubble
coming. Yeah, definitely.
Unless it's like a blue stock like CryptoPunks. That's not going. CryptoPunks is like Bitcoin, and Bored Apes are like Ethereum. It's not going anywhere.
So it's going to crash. And I think, yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, you can actually buy like a CryptoPunk for like $1 million, and then it all crashes, and then you're stuck with the CryptoPunk. So yeah, it's really, I think if you invest in NFTs, you should know what you're doing, because you can also lose a lot of money.
I think that's the whole purpose of the show, is to plant a seed and never invest in things you don't understand, especially with NFTs. Like, it's such a huge learning curve. I've only minted one just to understand the process so I could better explain it to a student who wants to get in this world. That's why I want to talk to you. That's why, fingers crossed, one day, Beeple. But I think at the end of the day, like, the power of NFTs is that it unlocks this new world that gives power back to the artist, eliminates a lot of middleman, and takes advantage of this new wave of technology and where digital collecting of things on the blockchain, that's where things are at, and you can be, I guess you could, you could love the old world and not want to move, but also you're missing a whole new wave of opportunity where maybe 1% of the world's even involved in the NFT space, and like NFT space is coming from, like, Gary Vee's popularizing it. Like, real estate can be in the NFT or tokenized, like gaming is going to be massive. Like, that's going to be probably the first mass adopted thing versus like Bitcoin being adopted is gaming on the blockchain.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the beauty of this whole evolution is, like, young creatives or old creatives, I don't know, can just take advantage of these new technologies and actually make a decent living just by doing things on the blockchain. And I think definitely the Ethereum network is just the beginning.
Or like the first pitch of the first inning of extra innings baseball game.
Yeah, definitely. And I would love to see where it is in 10 years. I hope it's definitely going to be around, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I love seeing all these evolutions. And yeah, I think it's going to go crazy. It's going to be implemented in so many different ways. And I think it's going to be insane, especially for artists or musicians, anything.
Mm-hmm. Like, it truly gives power back to the creators. And I think this episode today is just like, here's a glimmer of hope that it's still a level playing field. There's room for anyone at the table. And maybe things aren't popping off for you on Instagram. That doesn't mean you suck. Maybe you didn't find your platform, and maybe there's another lane for you.
I think the most important thing about this whole NFT community is, like, it's actually a really tight community. And honestly, I've been doing Instagram for, I don't know how many years, let's say 10 years. And Instagram isn't all that important if you want to be successful in NFTs. You just need to be on Twitter.
Twitter. I was going to say Twitter and find the right Discords. Like, it's totally community. Yeah. Like, I feel like the community in this NFT space is the community what like Instagram used to be.
Yeah, and
I used to find all my best friends on Instagram.
The beauty of this whole community is they don't care about followers. You can have like 1 million followers and people can still don't want to invest into your story. You can have like 10 followers and actually sell an NFT. So that's the beauty of it. People don't care. They want to see you as an artist, and they honestly, I mean, some people might care about the numbers, but that's the only tip I can give you. Just go to Twitter and start using the platform, because I've made so many new connections on there that are so valuable to me. And Instagram, yeah, it's just that's a different thing. Instagram.
I think the beautiful thing about this is what you said. This is what I try to do with coaching is I try to help students build their brand, tell their stories, and hone their craft. Mm-hmm. And I feel like just doing that within this NFT space, like, this is the power of sharing your story or sharing yourself and your work. Like, you just nerd out and share your weird quirks and interests and passions, your beliefs, your values, all within your work. I call it the secret sauce. But it's like, that's what keeps people coming back for more, is they get to know you through your work. And a lot of people are just filtered, scared to ruffle feathers, scared to piss people off. They like to play it safe and they just create vanilla work. And I'm like, it's hard to stand out in a world full of vanilla when you're just being vanilla. You're scared to offend someone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a story that you also tell with coaching, like you just said, just be yourself. And I mean, if you don't feel comfortable talking into the selfie camera on Instagram stories, just don't do it. Just tell something else. Just show your work. If you
see, I'm going to push him to do that though.
Yeah, but like for me, for instance, I've been thinking about doing that like for so many times now. Like, maybe I should like film myself, tell the story, but for me, it doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know why, so I don't do it. And maybe one day, I don't know.
Why do you think you don't do it? Because I'm all like,
because
hey,
I'm
if it's
not
something that makes you uncomfortable, to me, that's all like signs and systems of maybe I should be doing
because
that.
because I'm not a native speaker English. I don't feel. I think my English is okay, but that's just holding me back.
Shit, I wouldn't have you on the podcast twice if you had shitty English, dude. I've seen all your lives. I'm like, yo, that's a limiting story. I'm like, dude, you're way good on camera. Plus, you can write powerful captions and everything too. I'm like, dude, there's just another level of Musketon that people will buy into once they get to see you more.
Yeah, I think like I've been trying to do it. Like I also created like this green circle on Instagram where I wanted to share like more personal stuff because people are honestly interested in personal stuff. And I noticed that I'm not using it. So but yeah, maybe after this podcast I'll start doing it.
I'm about to say, man, that's just gonna make you even more of a magnet for the everyday person to get to know you better, not just whales who see the dope work and want to collect it because of a high floor or ceiling. Do you collect royalties then off of each one of your sales? Like that's another thing I really, really like, that it gives power to creators. Like if you sell a fat ass piece or whatever you sell, every time that piece gets sold on the blockchain to the next person, you can set it where you collect the 1% up to 5% on some of these sites, maybe even more. Like, do you collect royalties then for passive income?
It depends on the marketplace. I think super rare is 10%. So I sold, for instance,
and they get like a cut out of that 10%, right? Because I know OpenSea, you can set it from like 1 to 5. So there's rarity, foundation, nifty, rareable.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But like the first NFT I sold for 6 Ethereum, and then the collector listed it again for, I think, I don't know how much, but I know in US dollars it's close to, I think it's over $1 million. Wow. So if he resells it for like $1 million, I basically on paper make 100,000 just of royalties, which is crazy.
So not only is it like, this is like the benefits of this world. Not only is it a new world of opportunity for you to have your work exist in different places that aren't just like, hey, here's my Instagram following, buy a print through my shop. It's just a whole new world, a wave of digital collectors fueled by this younger generation who live in these metaverses and everything, Decentralands or Star Atlas, whatever game they're playing now. Yeah. But every time it gets sold, like you can make passive income off royalties of people just flipping your stuff. So the power of showing your face or telling your story, being consistent, leveraging platforms, finding your communities. So if you were like back at square one, what are like 3 tips you would tell Bert just getting started, and Bert that didn't have this audience built all over these years? I would say most people in my audience have been in the game for a while or just starting off. Like, what would you tell them 3 tips if that was you in their spot?
The beginning of my career as an illustrator or the
NFT space. Story? Yeah. Because I feel like we've dropped a lot of gems of like, yeah, show yourself in your work, be consistent, be patient with it over time, get involved in community.
Yeah, that's basically it. With the NFT community, just
you stumbled into it. But now if you were to like connect the dots, how would you be like, here's the first 3 things I would have done?
I think with everything, don't overthink stuff. Just go for it. And as much as you hate Twitter, open an account and start connecting with people, because that's the place to be. And don't try to lose yourself in all the hype and all the crazy numbers that you see, because everybody is always sharing the success stories, like in a JPEG that sold for like $1 million, and everybody thinks that it's going to happen. I mean, that's not easy to do. That's really difficult to actually sell something for $1 million. So don't lose yourself in all the hype, because from all the success stories, there's like a tenfold of failures that nobody sees. So just try to be yourself and don't go and try to be something else that you're not. So if for instance, if you always been working with paints or like pencils, don't go working like all digital all of a sudden because you think
trying to do pixelated and do your own version of an ape or a punk, trying to bite a trend.
just do whatever you enjoy doing, and it might work. It also might not work. And yeah, if it doesn't work, yeah, deal with it. You try it and move on to the next thing. I think you should at least try.
And don't be afraid to market yourself. Like that's where Twitter is huge. There's like a Facebook groups and stuff too that I'm in NFT related, but it's just a lot of people out there like, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. I'm like, where's the story?
Yeah,
Where's
that
the
usually doesn't work.
process?
Just what I do on Twitter is like, I try to share, like I start with a blank canvas and I try to share every single step of the illustration. And that's super helpful because then people can give you input, like maybe you should include this, something NFT related or something crypto related. And
you
then
include your
it
community
becomes,
is a huge tip of
yeah,
what you're saying here. You share your process, let people kind of like see how your brain works so they feel like they're a part of the piece.
yeah,
And then you include their suggestions and feedback.
exactly. And like one piece can take up to 2 weeks. And sometimes I think I did something amazing, and then somebody's like, maybe it would make more sense if you do it like that. And then if you start thinking about it, you also become like a better artist because you don't always have all the answers. And if you include the community, yeah, it becomes something bigger than yourself. And I think that's a really important step. And I think that's really helpful if you don't know how to deal with criticism. Yeah, that's a really good way to start learning to deal with it, because criticism can lift your work to the next level because you learned something new.
Where would you recommend someone get started? Like during this season, Ethereum is just backed up, but there's other players that are more eco-friendly, like Solana, Cardano. Where would you, or OpenSea, like where would you say someone gets started? Like, hey, mint one piece over here at a lower price, just to like, so you don't have too much skin in the game, or what would you recommend?
It's a difficult question because I always say apply to super rare and make sure that you are on that marketplace, because that's for me still the best one.
Do you have anything on Foundation? Or is that
Yeah, I
just
sold a lot
secondary of
of
people putting stuff there?
no, I sold a lot of stuff on Foundation also. And then I also did like Maker's Place, which is also a really nice platform. But like other than that, like I said, I'm definitely no expert, but like with all the yeah, if you want to be eco-friendly and 100% green, yeah, then you shouldn't be in NFTs, I guess.
Well,
Then
I would say not necessarily Ethereum until Ethereum 2 comes out and it's like
yeah,
proof of stake, but like Solana's kicking ass, a Ethereum competitor, what Polygon, Matic through OpenSea, like way less fees, way less carbon footprint. So there are competitors. Yeah. And I do like that. The eco-friendly part, that was probably the main thing holding me back. I'm like, I'm killing the planet. When really it's like the banking system and gold mining crushes the planet from an energy usage way more, but no one wants to talk about that. This is just like a tiny little speck. But with how quickly the space is moving, the innovation in terms of like energy preservation, like, dude, they're mining Bitcoin right now from volcanoes in El Salvador. Like, what? It's like wasted energy that Bitcoin's using, and like Ethereum's transitioning to without nerding out, proof of stake, where it takes way less carbon footprint, and there's already competitors leveraging this. So I think that's the beauty of this space. It moves so quickly. Like there's an issue on environmental impact. I'm like, dude, they're working on it religiously behind the scenes, to advance the space.
Yeah, definitely. And I try to be conscious about it, but yeah, it's really, the first thing I bought myself was a Tesla, and I sold my gas car. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to.
You minted NFTs on an Ethereum-based blockchain, which did some harm to the planet because it's Ethereum and it's congested, but it's shifting away from that soon. But then you sold off to get a Tesla that's better, eco-friendly for the planet, though. I mean, so like that's a good trade-off.
I don't want to. I mean, still I do. Yeah, I did some harm. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's really difficult to. I also got some backlash for actually minting NFTs, and because it's all super public. I also got some really nasty messages from people saying that I sold out, and I mean, yeah, maybe so, maybe not, but yeah, I feel good about it. I think that's the most important thing.
You sell out
and
when you're in a lane that's 1% adopted.
Yeah. So I think you should. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing it, and you take some different steps to actually give something back, or like, I mean, sell your gas car and go electric. I mean, yeah.
And help
a really
other artists find new avenues, sharing your process. Like, I feel like all you do is give back.
Exactly. And it's a difficult subject for me to talk about, because I mean, you can always point out something standing on the sideline and saying like you're doing this wrong, or you're like, that's really easy to point fingers and say stuff. But it's maybe, like I said, it's difficult for me to talk about, but I respect those opinions, honestly. And I hope Ethereum will make the switch soon to 2.0, and then it's going to be a completely different story.
Well, I definitely wanted to make sure like we address that, because again, that's what held me up from the beginning and dismiss it. I'm like, no, this is horrible. And I'm like, actually, there's a lot of Ethereum competitors that barely make any dent, way less fees, like carbon footprint rise. Yeah, like I mentioned, just in case people want to look into them, Solana, Cardano, Tezos, Matic on Polygon, like different chains, different competitors that Ethereum is now trying to become proof of stake,
Definitely. And I think what a lot of people forget to think about is like the Ethereum network wasn't really designed to be handling so many transactions like in 2020, 2021. And the fact that they're working on this update for years now, I mean, it proves that they want to evolve and they want to tackle the issue. And I think once they do, it's going to be a game changer for like
your ETH bags are going to be way more valuable. No. But the beauty of this, why this space is so in its early infant stage, is because that advancement of the tech, like all of that energy saving, carbon footprint saving stuff, eco-friendly, that's just going to be mass adopted by other sectors of our planet in different technology sectors. Like people are going to be leveraging what we learned in the crypto space and applying it to healthcare, to the banking system, hopefully, to everything else, to save, get more stuff on blockchain and leverage these eco-friendly things. So yes, it may be a burden now, but it's going to radically help the planet here sooner than we actually think, with how quickly everything's rapidly growing. So that's what really stood out to me. I'm like, oh, no, but all of it's bad. I was like, actually, once I started doing research, I'm like, actually, no, this is really, really promising.
But the thing is, like it's a really difficult discussion because a lot of people are really set in their way of thinking. But if you compare it to, I also ship physical prints in my web shop, for instance, and I ship worldwide. So if you buy a print from me, you're based in the United States. I mean, the emission that one print is actually doing from point A, being Belgium, to all across the Atlantic, point B. And I can guarantee you, we ship a lot of packages. 10% of those packages, for any reason whatsoever, they come back to us. Maybe wrong address, maybe the person didn't collect it. And then people start emailing me like, where's my package? And then it makes a trip once again. So, I mean, I'm not trying to defend like the fact that there's like definitely a carbon footprint with NFTs, but you should also consider thinking about the traditional way of shipping packages across the globe. That's also an issue.
Because, or Christmas lights, holiday lights. You shouldn't be putting up lights if you're really concerned about these things. You want to attack one space. I'm like, how much Christmas lights do you have up?
That's the difficulty about the discussion, because you shouldn't eat meat. You shouldn't do there's
always an angle. There's always a silver lining, but there's always a room for negative I guess, tearing apart of something because of one belief. But I'm like, but you're doing something over here. I don't know. People should take a hard look at themselves if they don't understand something, or if they've only read something surface level, like I did in the beginning. And I thought crypto was a scam in the beginning too, like was not for any of this. And then so many things I've had to like reshift my perspective on and be more educated on something. Hence,
yeah, that's the exact word that I was looking for. You should educate yourself, and even then, if you do a lot of research, you can still have the same idea, like this is not for me, but just at least try to educate yourself. And that's with everything in this world. But try to educate yourself with the right sources, and not like this. You have a lot of conspiracy theories, and that's really dangerous nowadays. You need to be able to filter what's the actual truth and what's not. So yeah,
see what's on this side, then listen to what's on this end of the spectrum, and then formulate an opinion. You got to hear both sides of the story, because otherwise you're just being fed propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the most important thing that you should do with everything, and especially with NFTs. And because you need to still remember you're dealing with actual money, and that's something that a lot of people, I think, tend to forget, because you see one Ethereum, but that's like $3,500, which is a lot of money. So yeah, I think always try to keep that in mind.
Well, I hope today was helpful, just like explaining a higher overview of the NFT space. And I think like 3 years from now, we can look back at this episode and laugh because of how far it's advanced and how less carbon impact, and how it's taken over the music industry, how it's taken over sports industry, how it's taken over artists and creators and given the power back to people like us. So I think it's just going to be funny us talking about like high gas fees and, a high learning curve. It's all going to be oversimplified and just way easier. But I'm hoping people I hope one person hears this and it's able to change their life, and give them hope for a new path for them.
Exactly. I know a lot of people that they started in NFT space, and they actually, their lives changed in such a short period of time, which is insane. And I mean, the fact that Gary Vee is tweeting daily, multiple tweets about NFTs, for me, that says something. I think if that guy if he's on board, and he's tweeting about it constantly, which is a good thing. And he's also tweeting about the dangers, or the fact that you should be really careful about it. And I think if you want to get into the space, just follow Gary Vee for a lot 100% of reasons.
Going to say the same. That's what I tell people. And I love his first thing: before making any investment, do 30 or 50 hours of research before you do anything. And that was me before I do anything, before I even bought Bitcoin, man. I spent weeks just learning about it. But what he's doing is super crazy, just so people can see that it's more than just, hey, let me buy a piece of Bert's artwork, or let me buy a profile picture for $1 million. Like something he's doing, he has his Veep friends, and then we'll put a cherry on top of this, but I hope people can see the value, the utility of this. But he has his V friends NFTs, but each NFT has a utility of unlocking something. Like this certain NFT gets you into his conference. This NFT gets you like first dibs at a ticket of him at a keynote. This NFT, if you get it and you go to his conference, you get to have lunch with him by owning this NFT. Like there's certain like barriers of entry. Certain things too, like buying Tory Lane's NFT will get you then access to concert tickets or something like that. Like there's so many different levels. Or this NFT for a video game allows you to play this character in a video game, and the value and everything can go up. We're pay to earn. Like it's an insane world. And I hope people just don't dismiss it like I did early on, where it can change your life. You can create generational wealth and meet insane, credible communities, and really push your craft forward. I think that's what it's about, and build your brand, tell your story all through your artwork, and still maintain that true artistry at your core.
Definitely. But it's not too late. This is, everybody's saying it, but it's just the beginning. And the one tip I can, like, to close this off, I can give you is like, you don't want to be at the point in like 5 years where you wished you went, like, invested time into the NFT space, because it's going to be the exact same thing like you wished you bought Bitcoin like 10 years ago. Or
you wish you would have got on Instagram like we did in 2013, but you got in at 2020. Don't be the don't be the late bloomer who dismisses stuff because you just weren't open-minded.
Yeah, that's the exact same message I wanted to tell. So yeah, I mean, but the very last thing I want to say about it is if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. Don't go do something else. If you love to go to the gym, instead go to the gym, and if you're happy with that, yeah, then just live a happy life. I think that's also really important. Don't force yourself into something that you don't want to do.
Self-care. And if you ever have any ideas, I'm looking to like bring the podcast into the NFC space. How can I make this a digital asset of you now own the recording of episode 232 with Bert, or here's the feature episode artwork for this episode that is now an NFT that you can own part of shares and stocks of the podcast as this grows. I don't know. That's just like where I see this going for me in this new wave. So exciting stuff.
Try. I think it can definitely work, especially if it gets like traction and you can have like high profile people like Gary Vee, for instance, on the podcast. I think that podcast will definitely sell.
Fingers crossed. I need like Beeple and Gary Vee, all them on there. But regardless, like I'm really honored and stoked I got to have you back on today. Where can people go to find you online and support you, as well as where can people go to buy an NFT? Because damn, I need a Bert NFT, man. I need something Musketon in my collection.
You can find me on social, like Instagram and stuff like that. It's just Musketon, or my website. And for now, I think the only NFTs that I have available are on Maker's Place, and the rest is all sold out. So yeah, I think just Google me and then we can connect. Just don't email me because I hate email.
And I'm like hitting you on every platform trying to make this work, man. I blew Bert up to make this one. So I will be completely, I'm like, dude, I needed this episode to happen. I had to reschedule once with sick kiddos. And hopefully they do fractionalized NFTs where if I can't afford a $27,000 Bert NFT when it drops, I can like get a fraction of it. So, but I do appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll have to do a round 3 to go dive deep on whatever topics or questions may arise. So if you're down, I'm down.
Definitely. Sounds good. Thanks,
all right, brother. Round 3 in the future. Appreciate your time. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening. It'd be awesome if you took the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let the comment below so we can connect. Again, if you want to catch a shout out as a future listener of the week, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes and give it a rating and review.